Hi, welcome to the unboxing of the Insta360 Link, the AI-powered 4K webcam. So, as I'm doing the unboxing here, explain some of the reasons why I purchased this myself, and it's non-sponsored video. I wanted to upgrade my 1080p camera, and wow, this is tiny. So I have a 1080p Logitech camera, and man, is this like, this thing is tiny. Look how small this is. I'm going to take off this sleeve here. Take these off as well. Wow, this is really truly gimbaled. All right. My hands aren't even that big, and you can see this thing is very, very tiny, which is extremely impressive for a 4K. And then you have some pretty nice options here. You have a standard camera mount. You have like the kind of traditional hang on the edge of a laptop screen or monitor. And you just have flat, or you can angle this how you want. So this is really nice. There is a stopping point. That's as far as it can go that way, and that's as far as it can go that way. So it's not completely 360. And then let's check this one. This one can only do that far and that far. So that's not 360, and then that's the limit on the up and down. But I figure that's some pretty good range no matter what. It does have the capability to go portrait, but as far as like, I don't know why it would need to go that far that way. But the range of motion is pretty impressive, especially for a gimbal. If you ever looked up prices on anything gimbaled for a camera, they're really expensive. And then for a 4K camera by itself, that's also expensive as well. So let's put that aside. We'll put that there and open up this. All right, so we got a silica gel pack, keep everything nice and dry. We have a what looks to be a USB-C. So it's a female C to a male type A. And I guess that's going to adapt with this cable cord. Put all that away. Yep, so we got a USB-C to USB-C cable, as you can see there. So that if you don't have a USB-C port, you can just put on the adapter and you're ready to go. So there's that, and it looks like we have, so these are markers, and I don't think I'll be using these, but it's an option that comes with the camera that you can put orientation of the camera, like if you have a whiteboard or some kind of attention space, and you can put these corner tabs on whatever whiteboard or area space that you're interested in, have it lock on that area. So we got those, and then we got the information, warranty, and a quick start guide in multiple languages. That's probably why this is so thick. So that looks like everything. I don't think there's anything else. Yep, that's it. So here we have the Insta360 Link set up. I just really don't even have it clipped onto the monitor. I just have the cable sticking through, and that's enough to hold up the camera. The camera is extremely lightweight, and also the size comparison between the Insta360 Link and my current Logitech HD 1080p, the size difference is pretty amazing. I cannot believe or get over how small this is. So another feature that I like about this, once you get it all set up in the software, whenever you're not using the software or anything that uses the cam, it goes into this park mode. And as you can see, the lens will go into a downward position for like kind of like a privacy mode. And it'll just stay there until you activate it. The other thing too I haven't seen in some other videos is when you actually activate the camera. So there it is activated. It has a green light that shows up. And I'm going to try to demonstrate what happens when you do hand gestures. We can see that the color and flashing of it indicates like I'm activating tracking, I'm deactivating tracking. Anything you do hand gesture wise, it'll flash to tell you that it's saying, hey, I recognize the gesture. So that's a cool feature. And I'll show you what it looks like when I go ahead and put it back into park mode. So I'm closing down the software. And you'll see it kind of goes through a sequence and it should shut down. So quitting the software, and there it goes to sleep. Okay, I'm going to demonstrate some of the features that the software has, and this is what it looks like when you load up the program. So down here you have your preview on and off. So you can turn that on and off. And then you have 3 different resolutions. You have 720, 1080, and 2160, which is 4K. Some of the cool features is that the clarity of the camera just in this general field of view zoomed out, as you can see over here, is completely zoomed out, is the quality of the picture is pretty good. And then when we zoom in 100%, you can see that it's pretty good. You can also adjust some of the image settings. You can see a little bit of graininess on where my hairline meets, and you can actually tone down some of the sharpness. That's toned all the way down, and you can dial in the sharpness to make it a little bit softer. Default is 50. We'll just leave it there for now, and you can save these as presets. So you can use this little joystick here to kind of like move the camera around. And if you want it kind of like to go in the right way, you want to make sure and go into more settings and make sure your mirror image is turned off. So whatever direction you move the joystick in is the direction it'll move the camera. So you can zoom all the way out, you can pan around, and you can see I got quite a bit of mess on my desk here. You can actually see a little bit of the base. There's my cell phone, my drink, my charging stand, my wheel, some of my work table and stuff. So if I wanted to zoom in on some stuff I have on my desk here, that's the maximum zoom, and the detail's pretty good. So you can see like, some power plugs down there in the corner, a little ant trap, my keyboard, my RoboVac. So you get the idea. The main point that I want to use this for, though, is obviously for webcam use. And you see I have some settings here. So the SC FOIP stands for Star System FOIP, which I'll demonstrate later. And then Razor Crest is another thing I'll demonstrate here in a minute. But this will go, you can set a preset. So let's say I don't know, I just have my RoboVac be the focus of something for some reason, right? So I can actually just click the plus sign and I can right click and do rename and say RoboVac, right? And then let's say I want to focus in on my work table, do a preset, right click, rename, and do work table. And then let's say I just want to have it zoomed all the way out and just kind of like do a generalized picture with me in the center. So I can just say center zoomed out. It's kind of weird. So I'll do center. There you go. Center zoomed out. So now those presets are set. You can just click on the buttons. You can go zoop, roll back. I got the work table. And we got me. Really fast motor response. I'm really impressed. You can just go back and forth, and you can see how fast that is. It's pretty freaking amazing, to be honest. I'm just that feature alone is worth the price to me. But then you got some AI stuff, and this is where it gets kind of cool. So I can go like this, and now it's tracking automatically. It's doing an automatic zoom, and it's trying to lock onto my face. So the nice thing is if I sit up now, right, and I'm talking, webcam or whatever, it's just going to stay here on my face. And then if I, leaned all the way back in my chair, there, it's going to stay on my face again. So really cool is if, let's say I'm like over here and I'm talking and I'm saying, hey, yada yada, I'm over here at my work table, I got my lamp here and stuff, it's going to track me. And if I stand up, it's going to follow me, and say, oh yeah, well, there's this, picture here. And then, the range on this is pretty good because I can get all the way over here. I can come back to my chair, sit down. And if you move around on your chair a lot, you can, just kind of like be like this, like, if you want to get comfortable and, switch around like this, that to me, again, is worth the price of the cameras. It's auto tracking. But it gets even better because now I can switch to different settings. I can do half body, and the zoom factors in kind of like let's see if I can square this in. It's going to square in about like that, right? And then you got whole body where it'll try, and then the zoom limit is, it's limited, right? So it's going to try to like get as much as my body in the camera shot as possible. And then I'll come over here and click half body so you can see. So there. Now it's only doing from like here to here. And then back to the head, you can see it's tracking kind of like a narrower section. So another cool thing is you can do a hand gesture to where, like, if you don't want it to follow you, while you're walking out the room, right? You can lock the position. You can go like this. And the blue light will flash on the camera, which I demonstrated before, and then you can just walk away. So quick note is you can't just go like this because the camera's like, well, what am I locking on? Because it's looking for a face. And if your face isn't in the camera, no amount of gesturing is going to work. They go like this. You put up your hand. It locks on. And then now you can track. And then you can make different adjustments. You can do, let's see. There's ways of changing the speed. Yeah, here we auto tracking speed. I have it tracking speed to slow. We can see how it goes with fast. So I can go like this and kind of move around the room. And it's kind of jarring, but it's pretty fast with the tracking, which is amazing because the motor is just really amazingly, I could be like, I'm just thoroughly just blown away by this technology. There's a couple of different settings here. We have tracking, which it's not doing right now. We have whiteboard, which I could set up with those markers that you saw at the beginning of the video. There's an overhead mode, which is kind of like if you set up the camera in a certain way to be like a dedicated top-down camera, this is the mode that you would use it in. Now there's an overhead mode, which is desktop view mode, which you can use with the current setup that I have right now. So if we switch to that, so now it's doing a reverse image and it's just kind of pointing the camera down. Now I can like demonstrate my speed editor keyboard here without having to even touch the camera. So I can say, hey, this is what my editing keyboard looks like, you know, right? And I can just kind of hold it right in front of the camera and I can demonstrate stuff, you know, right here and say, oh yeah, okay, look at this detail, this, and then like I can go say, hey, look at this high defender that I have here. Look at the detail on you know, this ship. So these are the three different hand gestures you can do: auto tracking, zoom, and whiteboard. So we're going to try to the zoom. And so if I raise my finger up, it's going to zoom in. If I raise my finger down, it's going to zoom out. So I was already zoomed in all the way, and we'll go back here so you can see. You can see the bar over here increasing. And for some reason, I can't get it to zoom in all the way. I don't know why. I don't know why that's a limitation on the camera. We can get it to zoom all the way out, but if I go like this, let's try to do it from there. So it's giving me the signal, zoom in. Let's try it one more time. Zoom. Yeah, see, it gets kind of stuck like there, but you can actually drag that in and zoom just a little bit more. So that I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe a software update will fix that. Next, I'm going to show you the NVIDIA broadcast. So you can do some interesting effects, and I'm going to have to turn off this camera preview. So we're going to click on that first. We're going to go back to NVIDIA broadcast here, and we're going to click on the camera. And so I got a cool little scene of me and the Razor Crest with Grogu in the background. It's recommended to make sure your preview is off before you mess with these controls. And then you select your camera. And then let's go ahead and set it to the highest quality. And then I have a preset over here, which is Razor Crest, right? So you can see I'm not quite, you know, in the right spot here. So, and then there's another cool thing I'm going to demonstrate here. There's a toolbar. So you right click on this and you go show toolbar. Now, no matter, even if you have something in the way, you can still interact with this toolbar. And this overlay is permanent over any other window that you have open. So you can have it open while you're working on other stuff. So in this case, number 2 is the Razor Crest. So I'm going to go like that. And it kind of corrects and puts me in the seat. But let's say I want I want to be centered in the seat a little bit better. So you can click on this little camera properties here, and you can do camera control, and you can change the zoom. So we can make me a little bit bigger. And then let's say we want the pan, you know, the pan is like left and right. So we'll get that kind of centered a little bit. And then let's do the tilt. I'm gonna zoom in just a hair. Yeah, that's pretty good. So there we have the scene. We can apply it, click on OK. And so that's adjusted. It's ready to go. So even though, like, you know, this is, you know, normal, we got what, reset, zoomed out. We have other presets, but when we do the Razor Crest, like boom, we're set for the camera. We can use it for Discord, for Telegram, Zoom, Skype, whatever. You could do the same thing with let's see, we'll bring up a like Top Gun background, and so we need to do, you know, make some adjustments for this, and we can do it there, or we can set up a preset And we can go to the controls here. Let's do, let's get this so we're like that. And then there's the zoom. And let's do, right about there. I'm not sure why I have, I think my keyboard in the back is, there it goes, it's gone away. So now we got the Top Gun, and we can, where's the presets? We can add the preset and rename and do Top Gun, right? So now we have that set, and we don't have to even go through this software. So when we have Top Gun selected, we can do that, and then we can do the Razor Crest, which is right there, and then click on that. There we go. Preset's done. Okay, we're in Star Citizen right here, and at the bottom of the screen I have the toolbar for the Insta360 link. And what we're going to try is set up the FOIP, which looks like this, and there's no tracking right now. Face is actually kind of twitching. So we're going to go to Options, Comms, FOIP, and Head Tracking. We want to make sure that the FaceWare Enable FOIP face tracking is turned on. And then we also want to make sure our camera is selected. And then through this entire list, I've tried different settings. There's H.264 versions and there's MJPEG. I found that the MJPEG was more stable and better. It was just better in the tracking. So we're going to go ahead and select that, and we want the highest resolution because when we zoom in, like a digital zoom in, you want the highest resolution possible. So that's where this camera really shines, is that we're going to be able to zoom in on my face rather than taking the entire big picture. So we're going to select that, and then we're going to click on the calibrate button. For me, I already have the window open, and I'm just going to activate it in OBS so you can take a look. And the two things that we want to look at here are where it says calibrated false in the upper right corner, and it says tracking false. I already have a preset set up that says that I named it Star Citizen FOIP, so I can just click on this preset and go zoop. And you'll notice that there's dots tracking on my nose, my mouth, my eyes, and my eyebrows, right? And that's what's really cool about this camera, is that even though you have this huge scene, it has 4K resolution. It can zoom in. Even though the camera itself is only at 1440, you can see the detail on my face is actually pretty good. So we're actually going to go back into the game, and then we got half of the equation. We got where it's tracking, but we need to calibrate it because my face is kind of like not right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look straight ahead at the monitor and then close my mouth, and then I'm going to hit the calibrate key. So if you see my face kind of like relaxed, and now as I'm talking, you can see my mouth moving with the animation of the character. Now I can kind of blink left and kind of blink right, and I can kind of do like a Spock, like fascinating, something like that. So the FOIP actually works really well with this camera, and it started making me think like, okay, well, there's some times where I want to play and I don't want to wear my headphones and my track RR tracker, and I don't want to, I just want to just kind of do some very casual stuff in the game, but I still want head tracking because head tracking in Star Citizen is really nice. So we're done with the toolbar, so we're going to go ahead and close that for right now. And then we're going to actually turn on head tracking and show you how good that can be. So we already have the camera selected, and the camera is going to use this same face image. And I'm going to also shrink this down because, like, you get the idea, but just so you can get a picture of, like, my head moving around. So for head tracking, you want to choose space where FOIP must be enabled. So we've already enabled that, but that's part of it. So if I were to use my tracker, I'd just use this. But for this, the head tracking using the face tracking is this selection here. And then I played around with a lot of these settings. And what I'll do is I'll go through my settings here so you can take a look at them, and then you'll see the results of those settings. So, we want the head tracking enabled. Position offsets, yes. Auto calibrate. Actually, we want auto calibrate turned off, because once we get it calibrated, we don't want to move it from that position. We want it always to be right where we have it set. So, head tracking disabled while seated. No, we want head tracking while we're sitting in a cockpit. And I also like having head tracking while running around on foot, which I'll demonstrate after the ship tracking. So, and then disable during ADS. So if you're holding up a gun, you don't want your head screwing up your aim. Disable during mobi-glass. When you have your mobi-glass open, you don't want your mobi-glass like moving all over the place with your head. So I always have that on. Disable during interaction mode. No, I leave that on because sometimes I'm looking around the cockpit and I want to look at something and use my interaction mode to interact with some of the MFDs. Enable roll in seats. Now I've turned off roll in the cockpit and first person, because even though roll is kind of more immersive to where you can tilt your head like this, it actually makes all the tracking and everything much more difficult to stay centered. It's one more axis that you have to keep track of, or the game has to keep track of to try to keep, and things just go out of whack and wonky. So I have these turned off just for stability. External view, that's just so you can move your head around and move the camera around while you're in external view. Disabled in inventory. Yes, like when I open up the inventory, I don't want my head tracking shifting around the scene and stuff. Use the device offset. I don't use this feature because it requires, I think, a hotkey, and you hold down the key to use the offset. I already have offset turned on. So disable after X seconds, 2 seconds. If this loses tracking, you see the dots go away on my face. After 2 seconds, it'll just go back to center. And then when it reconnects the dots and everything, and they're tracking on your face, it'll go back. We got 15 on pitch. Yaw is 15, and we have roll all the way down. There's a game bug I'm currently experiencing that if you put this all the way to the left or 0 or whatever the lowest value is, the game won't save it for some reason. When I exit out of the menu, you go back in and it'll be back to its original setting. So I do 1 point, like 0 is the lowest, but I'll do 0.1 just to put it at the lowest possible. Tracking threshold. This is kind of like your dead zone in degrees. It's basically how many degrees you move your head before the head tracking actually kicks in to move your camera view. So you want this set pretty low, because if you set it pretty high, if you set it all the way up to 10 degrees, you would have to move your head 10 degrees before the camera shifted. You would have to go like this. And it's a really jerky kind of movement. So you want to set this all the way down to like 1 degree. So like, 1 degree, when you move your head, the camera will go like this, like that, and just follow you for every 1 degree you move your head up and down, left and right. I've tried the lowest possible, and I found that 1 degree was the best setting. Dead zones. So these aren't necessarily dead zones where you have 0 input and then you have 100% input. These are more like curves. So you get up to a certain point, you'll have no input, and then you'll slowly have more input, and it'll just start ramping up. I don't know what the curve is, but I'm sure it's some kind of bell curve. And then I have the dead zone locked out for roll. The roll doesn't even matter because you have it turned off. But if you do use that roll, then you'll have to play with these settings. Smooth speed we want maxed out because it just makes everything super nice and fluid. And that's basically it. Input scale, the position. So we want almost 100% input scale on the position. Position is like this, left and right, up and down, and then forward and back. It's those three axes. It's not tilt, yaw, and pitch. It's the other three. So I have these all set at 90 because I only want them to activate after I've hit the 90% threshold for these dead zones. Face forward position offset based on rotation. So let's say you're just trying to zoom in a little bit by leaning forward. What it'll do is it'll track your face tracking, and if you lean forward this way, it'll zoom in this way, right? So if you have this setting turned off and you were to go like this, it wouldn't zoom in towards what you're looking at. What this does is it does the algorithm and math to figure out, okay, I'm looking in that direction. I just want to zoom in that direction. Otherwise, I'd have to do some really weird head movement just to get it to zoom in on whatever I'm looking at. So this you should have turned on. And then the rest of this is Toby stuff. And then this is actually to mention this. This is kind of like a Toby replacement because this will do the exact same thing as what a Toby head and eye tracker will do. Only this is better because you have to do all this setup and calibration and make sure the Toby stuff, and it's like you have all that right here in this camera, which I believe even increases the value of this camera even more. So we have all that set up, all the settings, and then when we return to game, I highly recommend, and I'll go through this right now. You want to go to key binding, advanced customization. You go all the way down here to VoIP, FOIP, and head tracking, and you want to set a recenter head tracking device. And I have mine to numpad minus. I highly recommend you set this. Use your own key if you want, and because once you get it set, you're good after that. But sometimes the tracking and the angle and everything gets kind of out of whack. But then you can see what I'm talking. So yeah, you can see it's out of whack. So I'm going to hit the reset key. I'm going to look straight ahead at the monitor, and there's the reset. So now everything looks nice and centered. And if you notice, I'm just kind of looking forward, and when I tilt my head this way and that way, and look up and around, I can look down. I can look over my arm a little bit, and then I'll go ahead and power up the ship so you can look at the MFDs. I can also zoom in a little bit by just leaning forward and then leaning back, and I can even technically I can zoom out if I kind of get my head back. But if I want to look at this panel over here on this left, I can kind of zoom in and kind of look at that. And all the settings that I went over kind of makes this tracking smooth. Now, if you notice, if I snap my head up and down, there's about, I want to say about a 300 millisecond delay, which is actually pretty good for just a webcam. And you can use other webcams too, but the trick about this one is this is gimbaled and it's locked in this position, and it's not going to move around, and it'll stay focused in this area that I've preset. And then once I hit that preset, I'm good to go. I have not only FOIP, because the FOIP is still going, and I'm talking and blinking, and if I actually do like voice over IP to other players, they're going to see my face, talking and stuff as I'm talking, and it just makes the game kind of more interesting. But I also got the head tracking too. So you can see as you're flying around, and you can look around the cockpit and out the glass and track targets and even lock on targets depending on your settings. You can also do gimbaled targeting. like this. I don't know if you can see the guns on the front of my ship. There are tracking where my head is tracking, where the cursor is. You might be able to get a better... Oh, that's another thing. When you go to an external view, now you can look around. You know, I can sit there and look way back here, way back over here. You know, I can look around while I'm in external. I'm not locked into a fixed position. All right, so let's see what it's like to do the head tracking for the first person. So we're going to go ahead and get out of the seat. And then so you do your normal mouse movements to look around and stuff, right? But in addition to that, if I'm aimed this way and I just want to look over without moving my mouse, I can just kind of like tilt my head that way for a second or that way. It takes a little bit of getting used to because you forget about your orientation, like when you're looking left, and it's like, oh yeah, I want to go straight towards that bed, but you actually kind of go off at an angle because like your body won't turn where your head is looking like that. So you kind of have to like get used to, you know, being careful about like where you're looking. So another thing I like to do is like I'll walk up to a door and then just kind of look over and then click that and then to use my head. And it's like it feels a little bit more natural to just kind of like, you know, if I'm like running along here and I just want to look over what's on my right shoulder without actually changing direction of where I'm running. You know, because if I'm running this way and I'm like, I want to look at this ship as I'm running by, you know, that's one of the handy capabilities. Or as I'm running, I'm looking up in the sky, looking, you know, for ships going around and stuff. So in first person, I really like this particular, you know, tracking because like I can still do like first person, you know, zip around, look, you know, that's way faster and snappier. Um, but I can't, you know, I have to do some strafing in order to look at something. Like if I were to do the same thing I wanted to do in head tracking, I'd have to press my strafe key, right? And it's actually, you know, you can't sprint. Like there's no sprinting in strafe, right? You can't sprint while strafing. But if I sprint and I'm just like leaning my head over, that's actually faster. So there's some advantages to doing this. Anyways, thanks for watching and hope you liked the video.